said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy... Flyover State of Fear. Welcome back. It's Flyover State of Fear. Nothing crazy's gone on in the world. Things that didn't happen just of yesterday, or about a week or two of post recording. But
nothing ever happens in early November. It's boring.
No, not on an even number year either.
Nope.
All right, so. How are you, Brian?
I'm not clinically depressed.
Me neither.
So I'm great, I guess. It's fine.
I think we're fine. I mean, I'm more ready to talk movies than I've ever wanted to talk movies.
Right. Like, I've never wanted to talk about something else. And that something else is movies.
Yeah, like...
I love movies. I love them so much.
The movie.
I can't wait. This is actually the second podcast I've recorded that has weird election vibes, and I can't wait to go back and listen to this one. I'm embarrassed to listen to the other one. I would never want to hear that.
So
but this one I'll be excited for.
You have like a famous one in your life that'll never see the light of day.
Right. There was one recorded on the actual election night in 2016.
Still have that?
I don't think I even have the audio personally.
Because then
maybe.
Then there has to be an episode of like Fear. No, there has to be an episode of our Flyover of 2020, but we were
at least close to it.
But we've all been pretty jazzed.
Yeah, we were all like, "Woo, we did it!" Vote blue, no matter who, baby. Actually, that was a real hold your nose and vote situation. Also,
but I do have one memory of 16. That's about when you and I started talking.
Right.
Like around that.
We didn't meet in person until 2017, till like the next
you and
summer.
I were like, and I remember we were whatever, and a DM, and I remember this today, and I remember you sent me a very, not dramatic, but like heartfelt, like it was like, oh man, you were just like, I think it was you, it had to have been, it was like, probably. Hold your family close tonight, because once again, we didn't know the unknown of, of that man.
It sounds like me. I'm very dramatic.
But this had it just feels like it was you, but if the timeline makes sense, it makes sense.
Yeah, I can't remember, but maybe.
I was very drunk that night, and I feel like I was messing very drunk. Did not get drunk the other nights. But 2016 election was back at the time. I was a little younger, and I was like, ooh, baby. We got bingo cards. This is gonna be a rip roaring time, and
we're having a rip roaring good time.
And then it was just taking raw alcohol to the brain, and waking up so hungover. Anyway, this time the real horrors are what we watched.
Mm-hmm.
We just closed out spooky season, but my spooky season has trickled. Is going to be trickling a lot.
It never ends. It goes from a boil to a simmer.
I've been doing like more horror since our last recording. And I think our last recording, I think I did told you, like, I watched like more of the new releases, like Terrifier 3 and Substance and that. But the only thing I want to call out on this is I watched the 5-hour doc of Chucky.
Ooh, nice.
Shudder. It was generally, it's just like the Never Sleep Again doc they have of Nightmare.
You just kind of go through all the movies.
Yeah, it's for.
Is there one they skip? Because in the Nightmare one, there's one they kind of breeze past.
Yeah, this one too. There's they almost get smaller, like shorter
as they go. Yeah.
But the Nightmare one, I don't. The Never.
It's fine.
But anyway,
I'm excited to check that out. Actually,
yeah, you would like it.
Obviously, love Chucky.
It's like I said, it's for the sick, especially the Sark. Like really, especially like 1 through 3. Like they go through like every casting decision. Yeah. They're like, this side character, we thought it was this. It's like, oh, okay, they really filled the time. The weirdest part of it though, and it was a little disheartening, just because of what it was, because there's so much Chucky artwork out there.
Sure.
there would say things, and the things they'd flash screen. Some of it I could tell was that AI garbage of like Chucky stuff. And I'm like, that's so much different than like Late Night with the Devil.
Yeah.
But you can just tell there's that style that's all like icky.
Oh, absolutely.
So that was the big thing I watched. I think I would say in horror. Other than the movie you watched, the other thing I watched are just like Halloween type catch ups. Oh no, sorry, I did a terrible watch of that Time Cut, the one that's getting dunked on. There's that 2004. The kid goes back in time in 2004 to stop a murder.
Oh, okay, the
And
one
it's
that people are
Netflix.
just like ripping on it's like it's high school in 2003. It's like no goth kids, no big pants,
No,
no
no
that
layered.
one.
Yeah, no layered clothing. There's a
Right,
shot and watch
right.
that clip online where like the girl has a Walkman and she's like hitting buttons as if it's like a touchscreen.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
it's like
ridiculous.
I give movies like a semblance of credits with that to be like, oh, period piece. Like you're not gonna get it all right. No, this is the most wrong anything's ever been of a time period. Um,
Especially for one that's not even that long ago. Like there's
yeah,
plenty of people
it's
around who
just
can tell you.
it's just lazy. And then I watched its counterpart because this is Dante's Peak Volcano. I rewatched Totally Killer, which I remember really liking.
Oh yeah.
It was a prime Kieran Shipka
Okay, yeah. I
and
might watch that.
in the '80s, and like Julia Bowen, and like she goes literally identical concepts. The killers have the same masks virtually.
Is that the one that's by the guys who did like Freaky and
Mm, no,
It's a
totally.
Wonderful Knife? Is that the same team?
I think you're right. No.
No.
Totally
Okay.
Killer is the guy who did actually like made like the guy who made like Fresh Off the Boat,
Oh,
and like
okay.
is a comedy is a comedy director.
Maybe it
Um,
just had those. Maybe they're like the trailer just had those vibes or
it's the vibe. I
something.
think it's the same producers as like Freaky and a similar concept. And
Yeah,
anyway, that's really fun. I like that movie. Time Cut was it was like, how does get made levels to me of like, not so bad it's good, I don't recommend it, but just decisions they made. Like the
sure.
choice this girl makes as the period on the movie is so head scratching to me and like nihilistic that I was like, what? I'll tell you after the
Oh
recording,
yeah,
so I don't
yeah.
want to
I'll definitely. We
spoil
won't
anything.
spoil it here.
But it's the dumbest fucking ending. Anyway, is there anything you want to shout out? I know I just.
I mean, I also, obviously wrapped up spooky season, wrapped up Hearsttober 2024.
So wait,
Um,
would you do you have a number? Do you have a
I mean,
number
we
count?
hit our goal: 31 movies, 31 nights. Plus, we did get to see a theatrical showing of original Halloween, which none of us had seen in the theater before, so that was fun.
Ooh.
Good
And you
theater
had a good
watching
crowd.
experience
And you had a
too.
good crowd.
Good crowd. Yep. That was fun. That was very important to me. I didn't want to kill anyone, but I would have.
I did in
Um,
the screening I went to the
I would have
previous.
fucking choke slam a
Too,
motherfucker right through the middle.
there's too many of them. It was the whole crowd.
It was everybody. You couldn't take them all on.
They probably all fucking voted for the fucking cheetah this year.
But so because of that, during spooky season, I was racking up. There were a lot of shows airing that I wanted to watch, but I was kind of. I'm not a. It's funny, like binge before binge was a thing because I bought everything on DVD.
Yeah,
And
same.
then binge watching became a thing, and now binge watching has gone out of fashion, but I still like to be able to control my intake, so I will often wait till a full season of whatever has aired before I start watching it. I don't binge it all in one night, but maybe over the course of a week, I'll watch 2 episodes a night and I'll get through it. But that way, if it's really compelling and I do feel the need to jump to the next episode, I have
Yeah.
that choice. And that's the thing I've been doing for a while. But so
Very
to
disciplined.
horror adjacent things, I would say spooky season adjacent things
Yeah, I
that
think
I'm
spooky
catching.
season.
Yeah, that I'm catching up on is actually I watched the final season of Umbrella Academy. Not really spooky, but definitely like
It's genre.
sci-fi
It's
and
genre.
genre. Yeah.
I wouldn't
Um,
turn it away if we did TV. Like if someone said there was a movie equivalent, I wouldn't turn it away
yeah,
on the
yeah.
talk on the show.
It's a good show and it's weird. It feels like they made the last season just for me. I don't think anybody's watching it anymore,
I
but it
haven't
was
watched any of it.
no, it's good. But I'm still in the midst of it, have not finished quite yet, both Agatha All Along and Only Murders in the Building.
I have finished Only Murders in the Building.
I'm a couple episodes. I got 2 or 3 left.
Fun. It's only murders. You want more? Just from
Yeah, they're
based
all
off the
about the
cast.
same level of quality. The quality's been pretty consistent.
I still gotta watch Agatha too. But it's a show. I was just talking about murders recently. A show that is after season 1, they clearly did the thing. They were like, it's all about the jokes, and as long as we solve a murder by the end of this season,
Yeah.
it's just about doing the bits. And I think this season's the biggest prevalent of like, we're doing bits, and the case is so secondary.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Like, I think season 1, maybe 2, they were really like, oh, we want to make it, and like it's better off for it.
Season 1 definitely has more dramatic feel to it than this
Mhm.
season, for sure.
Yeah, and I like it. How can you not like?
Yeah, it's just a fun show, regardless. Like, it's fine. It's not. Yeah, I'm not like upset that they're not like
I love
trying to be
this.
Homicide: Life on the Streets or anything.
Yeah, in this season, one of my favorite gags is the reappearance of Paul Rudd
Yeah, as the stuntman.
as the
That's fun.
Irish
They
stuntman.
should find a way to do that every season
I
for him.
feel
It's
like
very
that
funny.
might be a running gag now of like more. I don't remember his character's name, but like more Paul Rudd like clones throughout
Like
the.
analogs,
Yeah,
coming through.
like Devon Sawa in the Chucky
Oh, absolutely.
um in the Chucky show. That's also one thing in the 5 Hour Doc. They don't talk about the show at all. It's
Yeah, I kind of figured they wouldn't. There's probably a licensing thing going on there. I don't know why there would be, but who knows?
yeah.
Maybe because it's still airing. Or honestly, the doc might have been like actually like produced during like the first season, and they just were like, well, and then by the time it comes out, it just
Maybe,
depends on how long that takes. I don't know.
maybe. Anyway, this came to me. But today, talking about Shudder, we're talking about this year's in a violent nature.
Hmm
Um, it was,
Again, another this is like we talked about last week or last time.
yeah.
Um, Big year for horror, and this is one of the big releases early
Yeah,
this
people
year.
really into this. So basically, this movie, I haven't watched. This is my first watch. This movie
This is
is
my second watch, which I'm
it,
finding is making me I'm more analytical if I watch them
yeah.
twice.
I think two times watching whenever we podcast is probably the better
Yeah,
way to
but come
talk
on,
about
who's got
this.
the time?
I didn't. I kind of watched this
I'm not a
twice.
professional podcast. I have a real fucking job.
I kind of watched this twice because I fell asleep through the first time. Um,
That's fine. Hey, I just finally got around to my second watch of Godzilla -1, and then shamefully fell asleep right in the middle of I shit you not, in the middle of like the big stomp the city minute moment. Like, I remember seeing Godzilla pick up the train car with the girl in it, and then I was like, how did I fall asleep during that part? I've been really wiped.
yep. In this movie, a big scene like that happened. I didn't think I was like, oh, I missed nothing because it was the type of sleep of like,
Yeah, because you
I don't
thought
know.
you just head bobbed, but you were really out for like 15 minutes.
Yeah. Ooh, guys, oh my, that's a rough one to sleep through. I saw that in theaters, but I could see
I saw it
why.
in the theater too, but I hadn't seen it since the theater because
Oh,
I
we
had ditched
watched.
Netflix, and I loved it, and I was so excited to rewatch it. But I did it on like a Friday night where I worked all day and I was up early, and it just like I was just sitting there watching and enjoying it, and I made the mistake of kicking the recliner back, and sometimes that's just a death sentence, man. That's it.
Yeah. No, well, yeah. Today, it was today. But like I said, I went back and I watched basically the second half of the movie twice. Um, I didn't realize how tired I was from going to bed at like 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
So like I worked, I did some things, and it was like
Right,
one
because you were
o'clock.
up early, regular work
Yeah, it
time,
was
so
a
you're up
regular work
early.
day, and like I work from home, so this is when I like throw movies on, and we're not busy, so it's all as my attention. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'm like, it was eat lunch during it too. So it was post like I was like,
Mhm.
oh,
Oh
uh,
yeah, the after lunch sleepies.
yeah,
I started trying to cut out. I was drinking a little cup of coffee every day at lunch, and I was like, I gotta cut that out. I need that. Get out of here.
yeah,
But then I'm like 1 o'clock after I had my lunch. I'm trying to do my work, and I'm like head
exactly.
bobbing.
So so if I'm a little like this, yep, it's because I watched it twice, but the second watch was more like we're gonna pay attention,
Hey,
and I feel like when I
focus up.
do that,
Focus
I feel
up.
like when I do we're gonna pay attention, it goes right through and out the other end instead of just like if I'm watching it. But anyway, so this movie, it's basically a Friday the 13th movie. It's basically a POV. That's why you're wearing your jersey.
Friend.
a POV Jason Voorhees movie.
POV-ish, because they bend the rules on that
Yeah,
most of
so
the time.
that's what I mean, I only did the IMDb trivia and the Wikipedia, like very loose reading, and this would be considered slow cinema,
Okay,
which is a certain type of. I had to look what its meaning up, but the
sounds
creators,
pretty self-explanatory.
yeah, drew inspiration from like Gus Van Sant films like Elephant and Jerry and Last Days. This is all stuff I'm not very familiar with, but like Terrence Malick films and like very of an ambiance, and he wanted it to feel like a nature documentary too.
Right, it's all natural sound, no music or
Yeah,
anything in this.
and it is filmed like that, right? Like it's not POV because you're always just kind of like it's more like video. It's more like video game angle. You're always kind of like
Yeah, you're
there's
kind of in the third person
yeah.
on Johnny.
Yeah, and I think the weirdest shot of Johnny that to me does not fit if talking about like stylistically, even
Mhm.
though it's cool. Because at first, like, oh, they're talking about video gaming, is that first place when he gets in the house and like he sees like I guess his like envisions like
He gets like a little
dad,
vision, yeah.
his like dad yelling at him something through the mirror, and it's the only piece that I never really see again in the movie. Like you
Yeah, he never has another moment like that, really.
But what's really cool about this movie is because of that. So there's no like full, the dialogue is always from afar for the most
Yeah, I
part.
mean, I guess yeah, we can start with
Yeah, just
that
start
because
in like,
that's the way the movie starts. We're
mm,
off. We're not. We're not seeing anything. We're just kind of like focused in on like a pipe in the dirt, and some branches and stuff. It's like a little ramshackled, and we hear voices and we hear these guys talking. Eventually, we'll find out that it's Troy, Aaron, and Colt are the guys. I tried to get the girls' names. I think I only got Chris is the only one I can remember.
uh,
Um,
Chris, Colt, Ranger, Troy, Aurora,
Aurora. Okay.
Aaron, Brody, Evan, Chuck, and then the lady in the truck, which is a woman from Friday the 13th, is just named Woman.
Okay. Okay. So we hear, but like, there's just, and I really actually like the way this is done. This movie demands, like, you can just absorb this movie as a kill, as a a splatter movie with some kills in it and not pay attention. But if you want to know what's going on, you do have to pay attention
Yeah, it
because
demands your attention.
everything is delivered off camera and kind of in snippets. You're never getting full, like, you're never getting the full information. You have to fill in some of the blanks yourself. And it relies on your knowledge of kind of tropes of the genre
Mhm.
a little bit.
That's what That's what, and I don't think it's on the this Wikipedia, but I think what I read on the IMDb is what the director said. He's like, I basically want to wear your patience out to demand. I'm paraphrasing to demand your attention, and then you'll get the earn eventually. But it's all to do that, right? And that's part of it. Like I think the comparisons to the the films I mentioned earlier, that it's like that we have to follow the characters walk around. It's very different from a traditional, really any traditional movie, right?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
like I have my comparisons for like its horrorness to it. Like, like a movie you and I love is like Leslie Verne, right?
Mhm.
Like that's found footage and everything, and like this movie gets the same criticism that I think Leslie Verne gets is when the times when it abandons when it like Leslie Verne, the weakest part is when it goes into like a regular like
Yeah.
kid
I
like
mean, that's obviously a very specific stylistic choice in that movie.
mhm.
They like are purposely making a shift. In this one, it's a little more like they're just kind of bending the rules of the
Yeah, it
established by
had
the
like
movie.
little
Like this is like mostly we're following him, but like sometimes he'll stop and it's like it's much like a video game. It's like a cutscene. Like he gets up to the kids at the campfire and he stands just out of frame, and then the camera comes around and like we still see him. Like if you're looking for him, you can still see him in the background,
but
but we watch our cutscene with the conversation with the kids and we get a little bit more backstory
there's
and
really only
whatever.
one big cut scene with the kids, right? It's the
That's really the
BX.
only one. Everything else is about as is about it. Honestly, I will probably keep coming back to it, like the Friday the 13th game, where you're coming up and you're seeing people kind of talking under a porch light or through a window, or and he's picking it up by just being nearby enough.
Yeah, like because very much Johnny, like I said, he's nearby enough, so he's picking it up. But like they took on. I think this is more what they use for Michael Myers, and it's true, right? It's all specials. He's Jaws. He's just a killer shark. He sees.
I
He
actually
kills.
have a note here where he functions a bit like the Quiet Place monster. He's mostly directed by sound,
Yeah,
like a snapping twig or a car
but
horn or
but
something.
how he saw the girls across the lake, though, if that's how he's functioning.
Yeah, well, he's still got that, or he's still got that Jason mentality. That's
That was
again,
a fun.
again,
That
we're
might
delving into the tropes. Like he's always gonna know when teens are frolicking. That's just
that
part
might
of his
be
powers.
that might be my favorite. Like,
Well, let's get into just a little bit more.
yeah,
Let's not jump to
go,
that
yeah.
because there's something I want to talk about with the way the movie's structured. So let's not jump ahead too
Well, anyway,
much.
speaking of that, I'll add to it. The quote from the guy, from the director, and
Yeah.
the is that he wanted to test the patience of he wanted to test the audience's patience. So this is all this movie is.
Yeah.
And then
And
we'll
and I'll ask you because I was thinking this. I think the walking and the sound of Johnny's breathing and the footsteps is actually pretty effective tension building. Like I think
that's my one. I
think
don't know.
part of like I really like, especially on this rewatch, I like wondering how they're gonna. He's gonna get to where he can make the kill and he's gonna get to what he needs to do, but wondering how he's going to get there while keeping this pace because unlike Leslie Vernon, he's not cheating, he's not running around behind the scenes. He is always kind of walking at that methodical pace and he picks it up slightly a couple times to like a faster walk a little bit, but not much.
So I personally, the tension does not. There's no to me. There's no tension in this movie.
Doesn't do anything for you.
It's more of like I'm more, and this is just me my own. I think this is more my own bias and like almost horror. It's not fair to the movie.
Sure.
I'm like, okay, I'm walking to see how are we going to see these teens killed? I feel no tension to this. I know some sort of murder's coming, and I want to see the effect of the murder.
Yeah.
Everything else to me was very like, okay, this is a practice in art. This movie is a practice in like a style and an artwork, and I'm respecting it that way. But from a tension standpoint,
Yeah.
I just never
Didn't really
connected.
No, that's absolutely fair. Like I said, and again, this is now 2 times in, and I was thinking about it. I did, like I said, I enjoyed that aspect of it where I was like, how's he gonna get there? How's it gonna, in what way is it gonna make it to the next thing so that it doesn't, and like, there's some close calls where you're like, is he gonna get seen? Is he gonna accidentally cross paths? Or there's sometimes when you're just like, oh shit, they've seen him, and like, but because you're with his point of view, you don't really see how they react to him.
No, you don't see any of it. That's
like,
stuff.
and I think that's interesting too. That like he's not always invisible.
That's what Sorry, so go on. So yeah, like because the first time.
Well, yeah, we should establish real quick. The very beginning scene, one of the guys, it's Troy, I believe, takes a locket. There's a locket hanging on a pipe.
Yes.
He takes the locket. This is an old fire tower that's collapsed. He takes the locket. Again, we don't even see the guy's faces or anything here. We just see his hand take the locket. Then the frame changes to the pipe. The pipe shimmies, and out comes Johnny out of the ground. And this is where we get our first walking shot for a little while. We notice Johnny he sees a trap with a dead animal in it. And again, like, Johnny's mostly directed by sound, but he's not stupid. And he'll get like ideas from things he sees. And I think the trap is what sets him on the path toward the guy's house.
Because that's going to give him the direction. Because
he gets to the guy's house and you see that the ranger's talking to that guy. That's the trapper guy. He's putting traps in the national park. The ranger's telling him he can't do that. so on and so forth. So I think, like, if the first time I watched it, I was like, how does he even find that house? Does he just walk? And I think it kind of,
I just thought he
seeing the
stumbled.
trap kind of puts him on. He probably sees the guy's trail from when the guy who set the trap,
Yeah,
and that is what he follows to the guy's house.
I just like kind of a follows it all the way through, right? That's how I read the movie. Is just
But like I said, like Johnny's, he can be distracted, but he can also get ideas in other ways. He isn't just he's not Michael Myers 2018, where he's just a killing machine, where he just mows through whatever's in front of him.
No, but I do think he only has one goal, and is to take Thing murder.
Oh, sure, yeah, he just wants his locket back, and whatever that takes. When he goes into this guy's house is when you have that shot with the mirror, and I was thinking about that, and I do feel like it's a little out of place. It's the only thing like that in the whole movie.
It's just because
it feels like a studio note where they were like, people are going to be too dumb to understand this locket thing. You have to like do a little bit more.
Because there's a credit to this movie, the way it gives us the pieces of the lore, is really well done, and that was the only one I said I don't have a problem with it.
No, and I was like, as I think about it, there's not really another place. We know the locket is important and that it's the focus, but there's nowhere else in the movie where we know why it's important. And I think that part got stuck in maybe to be like, his dad and mom gave it to him.
Talking ghost, Bill Cosby ghost dad is like, that's the
Johnny, we love you, and
I was like, because it's so video game, right? You get up in a video game and you look and you get a flashback in the mirror, and then you got to go back, and it's like
it's the Arkham games where the Scarecrow sprays you with gas, and then your kid Bruce Wayne and the
and I'm like, okay, like this is, and then when I brought that up, I was like, okay, this is where this movie is gonna be. And then we just walk and walk.
Well, and then he goes after Chuck,
and we don't see that.
Well, he goes in the house and Chuck walks in and sees him and tries to shoot him.
Well,
and
Chuck says something really interesting though.
What's he say?
It's you again. You're in here. I told you not to come back in here.
Oh yeah, maybe
something like that. Like he's as if like people have been coming into his shed before, and that's why he fires off what sounds.
He thought he fires like a warning shot, and then when he sees it's Johnny, he's gonna actually shoot him, but he doesn't get the shot off.
Which is insane to think, to fire a warning shot in your own home.
Inside your house. Yeah, wild, right?
But yeah, he doesn't, and he runs and gets chased away out and gets caught by a trap.
Got by his own trap, of course.
And you see
classic.
Like the Jason Voorhees zombie hand. Like this is
like
very
no fingernails. It looks all puffy and stuff, right?
Yeah, like this looks great. Like this is very.
I like that they show you his face too. I like that they go full later in the movie and they like full on show you his face. I was like, good for them.
So at first they're hiding it so much. It's like, or is this part of it? Like we're not fully going to reveal it. No, we get it.
And they fully go on and have put a mask on him in a little while too.
It's cool. It's a good reveal of the mask too, because it also, like I said, it helps tie into the lore of like why he'd want a mask. And so this is when he walks and he then.
Well, this is where I wanted to get into a bit of the structure of the kills here. There's a thing this movie's doing, and I mean it's obviously deliberate. Everything a director does is deliberate, but they alternate these like more cinematic ideas with their more like gory splatter stuff. So there'll be like a shot like this one is. You have him reaching toward the guy. The guy's whimpering. He's terrified. He's got that big meaty hand reaching towards him. And then it just hard cuts to the hand covered in blood, but it's grabbing what he thinks is the locket, but turns out to be a gold necklace that says "#1 motherfucker" on it. So funny.
It's a good bit. It's like because it's like right there. The humor's in that like it's like, it's like Simpsons sign humor almost. Like it's not like you got to pay attention to get the humor because it's humorless.
So then Johnny goes walk, and I like that even though the kill happened off camera, when Johnny walks out of the house, we do see the carnage kind of left. We see Chuck like torn apart by the car's arms, like laying on the roof and shit. Like
he tears people apart. It's not just like, well, I killed him. Move on. It's like I have to rip them limb to limb.
Decimate these bodies. And he does, and I do feel like this is like the kind of this is one of those where it's like just luck mostly because actually does he walk for a while and then he sees the car drive by,
That I would pick up on a second
or does he
watch.
just walk until he sees him by the fire? He just
I think he just
walks.
walk. I mean, I think he just walks till he sees him by
He
the
just walks into the
fire.
woods and then he like
He,
goes up to the fire and
like music's playing and he hears
yeah,
like
kind of
it.
gets drawn in by that. And this is the scene we talked about where they kind of break the first time they kind of break
Yeah,
from the third person format
it's
here.
it's my note here would be I wish the storytelling was a little more dynamic of what the guy's trying to relay for the backstory. Like I wish the kid was telling it like a ghost story, or not a kid. That's also one thing.
Let me put it this way: it's not done quite as well as when they did it in Friday the 13th Part 2. So if you
Yeah, it's very like you said, like it almost is a test of patience to listen to this. Probably like listening to me talk on this podcast. Like listen to
also
this
like
guy
yeah, I
tell a
mean the
story.
idea of what's it like to hang out with people like this, it is kind of a
Yeah,
test of your
and I'm
patience.
like, oh, like for me, oh, we're still going with this backstory, but I could use a little more interesting writing in it.
Yeah, and it's also part backstory, but it's also more legend than
Yeah,
backstory
but that's a
too.
good
It's
way
like
to
we don't
do
know
it.
this little bit unreliable narrator thing
But I think
here
that's
because
a good way
it's
to. I think that's a good way to do it, right? It's the back, like a kid fell down.
right. Like, basically was like a like a special kid like Jason,
Mm,
and some guys who were mad like because they fell over his
I
toys or
got it here.
something at the
I
store.
got it right here. Decades prior, Johnny the villain's son, local merchant, was tricked into climbing into a fire tower for a bag of toys, only to find someone waiting at the top to scare him. He fell from the
Wearing the
tower
mask, they were wearing
wearing the mask,
that spooky mask
which involved and then they covered it up by putting the mask over his dead body.
to make it look like he was
Hmm.
playing, so that and then he
Yeah.
fell.
And then, like, Johnny's father learns the truth, confronts the person responsible, killed in a brawl,
And then
and
he gets killed in a fight with the guy. Yeah.
according to legend, two series of murders decades apart are attributed to Johnny and his vengeful spirit. And they kind of talk about, like, the park rangers found some shit.
Right. Well, you get the lore
Mm,
here where it's like, and then some people came a couple days after Johnny's dad died, and the whole town was like, everybody in the logging camp was dead, torn apart. And then they have a little again. They drop a new little bit of lore. They say something about all those rangers that got killed here 10 years ago, and then we're gonna find out more about that later. That comes up
yeah.
again later.
And then this is when Johnny, though, then he, like, and he just watches too. That is a surprising part of this, right? And this is part of the whole test of patience. Like he just watches them from the fire. He doesn't go do anything at the moment.
Yeah, it's he does. It's classic Jason rules. He wants to single them out. He gets them one at a time, mostly.
Hmm.
Um, I do like the setup here of the group picture. I knew that was immediately going to be a thing that would come back later, where they take the group picture on the fire and Johnny's in the background. You get to hear him again in the off-camera dialogue where they're like arguing about the guy in the picture, and that's nothing. That's just something that whatever. It's a smudge. I just thought that was. It
It's a
doesn't
nice
really
touch.
play into it too much, but it's just a classic horror movie type thing to be like tossed in the background of
It's a
this.
nice touch.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely. Well, like I said, it just shows you that this movie is fully playing in the playground of like your classic horror.
mhm.
Um, the we get they kind of whatever the fire's over. They go back to the cabin. The one guy, Aaron, says he's gonna go meet or he says he's not going to meet the two girls from the gas station, but they keep taunting. They're like, "Oh, come on, you're going to you're trying to get laid from some townies or whatever." But obviously it's just a classic separate one guy from the group so that he can get a gruesome kill. And
Yeah,
again, this is
but
where we
he's
get our
just
first splatter movie. The way like we're alternating. We do a kind of cinematic thing, and then
yeah.
this one is
He
more
gets his
gruesome. Good
he
practical
gets
effects here, though,
yeah
real good.
he gets his face ripped off.
And then his
Or
little
sorry,
tongue
split
is
in
still
half.
waggling in his mouth, which I always love.
And yeah, it's a splatter kill. So the director of this was the special effects guy, director writer Chris Nash was the special effects guy in Psycho Gorman, which is
Okay.
heavily on the special effects. But Psycho Gorman,
Different
it
kind of effects, though, kind
yeah,
of in
that's
that.
the mimicking like Power Rangers and shit. But that's his, like, I think big credit. I would say if I look in his IMDb is on set special effects creator. So, and something in ABC's a death too, which those are weird.
Yeah, they're not great.
No. But anyway, he gets this great kill, splitting it off, and then we do another cut of him holding the bottom or the top bottom of the head.
Right, he takes the
right?
pieces, basically. He had pulled the thing through the guy's mouth, so he separated the top of the head, and he's carrying both. Also, I want to note, again, this is not something I picked up the first time. The guy has like a park ranger on his shirt, and that is what gives Johnny the idea to go to the ranger station.
I noticed the shirt because we get his like.
They take a second for him to stop and look at the shirt,
but I didn't put two and two together.
Right, and then he drags the body to the ranger station. I love this break-in, incredible break-in.
Throws the head through the window.
Smashes the head through the window and throws it in.
Like a bowling ball.
You think that's gonna be it, and then he's looking at his tools, his mask, and then he uses the body, just throws the body into the display case and like smashes that too. It's so good. It's incredible stuff.
So
he gets this mask, which I hope becomes iconic. It's really a great mask.
I think that's one of those ones we're gonna see more so like pop up online a little bit, and then like a lot of people like cons, like it's a con outfit.
Definitely a con outfit. Definitely something I would wear.
And then I feel like the way Halloween or costume trends are going is like 5 years from now, like they're gonna license out in a violent nature to like Spirit Halloween, and you're gonna have like
you'll be able to buy them the hood and stuff. Yeah,
because I swear Spirit Halloween is picking up anything with an IP to be like, yeah, we'll make a costume out of it.
Oh yeah, they will.
Like Art the Clown's popular because Spirit Halloween saw that and jumped on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because like people
also, I don't know if you've noticed in your area. Over the last couple of years, they've reeled in how many stores. I think they've realized now that people will drive a little bit more.
We don't have as many as
we used to have them all over, and now there's like 2 or 3. They're not nearly as prolific.
That's a good observation.
They realize that people just look up the location online. They don't have to be in like a specific. They don't have to be in a place where people will see them driving by. They know that people just look it up on their phone.
And they're significant. I say this: they're significantly all better than like the knockoff version of those, like Halloween
Express,
or whatever they're called. But yeah, like so I could see Johnny becoming like that. Like I said, especially like I said, like I'm using art right now as an example, even though like that's the hotness. But like Spirit Halloween, like I saw a bunch of comments online of like children being Terrifier and all this.
Yeah.
And every comment's like the mother's like, no, they saw I saw a few that was like the kids saw the animatronic in the Spirit Halloween and just wanted to be that. Like they didn't watch Terrifier.
The last 2 years in a row, my buddy's kid, who's like 7 or 8, has been Ghostface and Jason, and that's because he saw Harrison dress up as Ghostface and Jason, because Ghostface and Jason are just prolific and he's never seen the movies, but it doesn't matter. It's just like how we knew who Freddy was when we were kids.
And I feel like exactly. And I feel like Jason's also one where like you got to see a specific movie to get specific things. Like if like how many and adults, but like children over the years have been fooled like, yo, we're gonna watch Friday the 13th with Jason in it, and they watch and they're like, what the fuck? There was no hockey mask. I'll put 2 in. There must be a hockey mask in this one.
Yeah.
Wait, what the fuck? There's no
fuck.
So that his getup is very iconic. They did a great character.
Yeah, great. I mean, he's got his own iconic weapons. He's got the drag hooks and the fire axe. So he's got
drag hook. Once again, with the park rangers, it's clever, it's well done. Even the way they're laid out, it's like that's how those places would be. Like, here's a little thing of how they used
display of history of the park, fire, the way we used to fight fires in the park or whatever.
And I'm sure if you pause it, this seems like the movie where like there's probably some like things hanging up that give you some more insights to the lore on the
little
wall,
plaques or news clippings or something. Absolutely.
So, but he does that, then he comes back and he's fully equipped.
Right. Well, he walks home and it's in the morning by the time he gets back to where the kids are. And this is where we start to get into
this is a swim scene.
This is the lake scene. And this is the only reason I didn't want to jump, because again, I just wanted to point out that again we're switching back. We had our more gruesome kill. Now this is a more this director clearly had ideas for both. He had like gory splatter effects he wanted to do, but he also had like kind of slow tension camera
So there
moves
is
and like
they said I said they didn't have tension in this movie. This scene there was tension, obviously, because you're like, when's he gonna pop up? Because it does the thing with the camera where we're watching him watch the girls, and the girls are talking about like very funny horror movie stuff of like, I thought you were gonna make a move, and like,
well, yeah, they're basically they're lesbians, but they're having the normal conversation that like of a guy and a girl in
yeah,
a movie. Like it's just they're
and
having a very cliche conversation. They just happen to be two
and like the
girls.
girl jumps in and the one doesn't, and you're generally like, because he's watching them, but you as the audience,
When at one point he just walks into the water and disappears.
so that is my favorite part because there's two. You probably know what it reminds me of, but like you're like, okay, how's he gonna go over there? Or like that's okay, that's pretty far away. He just walks in like that scene in like that one bit in one of my favorite Simpsons moments where the professor goes, all
Professor
right.
Skinner crosses the.
Oh well, it was Mo's bartending teacher. It's when Mo goes back to school and he's depressed and he goes, okay, Mo. Mo's like, oh, that's great, Professor. I'm gonna do that. And he's like, hey, Mo, can you hold this? And like, I think he gives him his shoes or something.
Yeah.
And he starts just walking in the water. He's committing suicide.
Yeah.
And walking in the water, and Mo's like, oh, you left your shoe. You're never gonna, and just never comes back. And just Mo walks away. It's the same cadence of how he walks into this water.
Like the pace is just like very methodically, like just and his head goes right under the water.
And I don't know, but this scene itself, like, and then we cut, like, the camera, like the camera's so interesting.
One girl obviously leaves, and then the other girl who's swimming alone now. Its camera swings around to the other side of the dock.
I love how when you get to that kill, it is in the foreground, like you said, like you don't even see her, you just see the jaws, Oh,
yeah. She has the one. I love it. They give her two little yelps. It's almost scarier than the big like screaming, getting dragged across the water in Jaws. Her one little. She gives like a little, and then gets drug under, and then it's real quiet for a minute, and she gets one more where she gets one more little gasp, and then boop right back under, and then we hold on it, and then her body comes up, and then again out of frame. It's like the camera kind of slow moves, and he's already walking up out of the water, and he's already out.
He's already out. And then he walks and he finds the girl doing yoga, and this to me is the best.
This is the money shot. This is the one the movie's going to be remembered for.
Yes. This is one where she immediately is like, "Oh, you came back," and I was like, "Oh fuck, who are you?" And she goes to the edge, and
I love that there's not like a more traditional horror movie would have like drawn that moment out. And like had her hesitate and think about jumping and look back and they don't give her time for that at all. He walks immediately up and plows his hand right through her. Does he grab her and then put his hand through? Because if you hit her that hard from behind, she would just fly off that cliff.
I don't know if the camera shows his hand actually holding her, but
you would have to.
But yeah, hand goes right through.
With the boat with the drag hook through her.
Yeah.
Hooks the drag hook in her head,
and then takes her head and then scoops it back through the hole,
through her, like breaks her neck and pulls her head all the way back through her body. And then my favorite part of the whole thing, callously kicks her body down the hill, and it doesn't even make it to the water. It's just so dismissive. It's just such a dismissive move where he's just like, eh. Kick, eh.
Johnny's a funny guy.
Johnny's got jokes. Like I said, he's dumb. He's not, he's not dumb. He's methodical. He's quiet. But he ain't dumb.
That kill, and it's so funny. We were just talking Terrifier. That's the closest like terror. That is a terror. That's a bedroom scene in Terrifier 2 type kill.
Yeah, it's like it funny.
Keeps going.
It keeps escalating. You're like it punched through, and then he turns her around, and she's still kind of alive and like dazed, and like,
it's the bone, seeing the bone, like that neck bone.
But he breaks her neck, and the bone like pokes up.
It's that where I'm like, okay, and then by the time the head is through the hole,
right? Well, now you're into like that ridiculous splatter, like splatter porn kind of vibe. But like I said, it just feels a little because they like build to it. It just doesn't. It's
completely earned. And
again, quiet death, splatter kill death.
so speaking of quiet death, now then he goes back and this is when I am full transparency reading the Wikipedia here, so I know where we're at. But
oh no, I'm with you. They're having this
Troy,
is when he comes on the rest of the group, and we're hearing they're
they're
arguing about
arguing.
getting out of there. They're talking about the guy in the photo. This is like where we're at that point.
And they're like, "Where's Aurora?" Or what? Like they're asking
looking
where
for
the girls
people.
are.
Why didn't Aaron come back last night? Oh,
Yeah,
it's probably shacked up with those girls.
and you know,
One of the
I
guys, like an asshole, throws the keys into the
I
woods.
love though that he plays with the little car.
It's so cute, right?
He definitely thinks it's his little like talisman at first. Is like his necklace, his charm.
Well, because it's shiny, and but then I think
he likes
they talk about in his legend that it was like the guy who fell and hurt himself fell over his toys. They lured him with toys. I think you're just supposed to think he's got a bit of a childlike mind. He likes toys. But did you know? Again, this is a second time watch thing. I don't think I picked this up the first time. When he snaps back into focus is when he hears one of the guys say something about the other guy's dead dad. The dead dad comment is what he and he crushes the toy, and that's when he the two of them run off to the ranger station to find the ranger, and the one guy who's left behind, which I think is
those kills happen pretty swiftly too.
That's when he does the car horn.
Troy,
this is when he sets the trap with the car horn to draw Troy. I like this is again thing they play. I like that they play with the walking thing here because he kind of uses it to time out his trap. He's like, set the trap. One lap around the house will give Troy enough time to come to the car, and then he comes back around and he gets him. But he doesn't get him because as he's walking by the side of the cabin, we see somebody else catch a glimpse of Johnny and sees him. And then as he's walking up to Troy, somebody pops out of the cabin and shoots him. And classic Jason style, you can drop him with a bullet, but you can't stop him with a bullet.
No, and he wakes up right before it. He pulls the gun away.
That's later. That's when that's with the ranger. That's a good moment too. I really like that. This is when again we do a cinematic and a splatter kill right together, back to back. Mm-hmm. So they shoot Johnny, he falls down. The guy who shot him helps Troy. They're trying to get away. Troy had taken a hatchet in the leg. We see Johnny wake up and he throws the axe. We don't see it. We don't see where it lands. It's off screen, and then we have the slow tracking shot. And we follow, and we see that it hit the guy who was helping Troy in the head, one throw. And then it continues to follow Johnny, and he picks up a big-ass rock. And he just drops a giant rock on Troy's head and splatters it. I just love, back-to-back, you have, the kind of quiet cinematic kill, and then the big flashy splatter kill. All in one tracking movement.
Yeah, but it keeps that rhythm.
Yeah.
Because that is a thing, I can't believe that I did not come into this conversation to talk about Terrifiers at all, right?
It's definitely got that heavy gore in it. It's not all that. It's not I haven't seen the Terrifier movies, but it's not as relentless with it. It picks its moments very
why I was going to say this. My big criticism of those movies, or 2 and 3, no more so, the redundancy of I get it. He's gonna chop off all limbs and rip the skin and fuck the body, or he doesn't do sexual stuff, but shit
right.
It's just done over and over. This I love the rhythm, silent. Okay, really fun one, silent fun one. It's so nice and so much refreshing. Restraint is good, and if this movie has anything, it has restraint.
Oh yeah, definitely. So at this point, the people who had gone to the ranger station obviously found Aaron dead.
Mm-hmm.
They come back to get their friends. They find their friend, they're dead. So they take off to the ranger station again. And by the time Johnny catches up with them at the ranger station, they're talking to the ranger, and we're hearing a little. Basically, the ranger catch them up on what we already know, which is which we've already put together by now, which is,
The
where'd
locket
you get that
activated.
locket? You took that off. You woke him up. That's blah, blah, blah. And we get more stuff. The Ranger, um, is the son of the guy who put Johnny down 10 years ago. No, no.
It was
Originally
10
put
years ago. Yeah.
originally put Johnny down, and then Johnny woke up 10 years ago, and he helped his dad put him down again, and now he's the only one left. So basically, establishing a family vendetta. This is Tommy Jarvis. This park ranger is our Tommy
Yeah, there's
Jarvis.
some fun lore that you have Tommy Jarvis, like you have that Tommy Jarvis in there, and then like the girl who eventually has the locket, like she's our quasi final girl
Hmm.
who is
That's
given,
Chris, I believe.
yes, and she's given, unlike any, unlike a movie that you're following the final girl, it's like it's to me it's very true to like, yeah, sure, like run away with the locket.
Yeah. Um, they do like yeah. There's some subtle stuff they give Chris and Colton Troy. There's like a little love triangle type thing going on there.
Yeah.
It's all like I said. Honestly, and I was talking to Sarah about this after I watched it the second time, was they establish about as much character development as your average Friday the 13th movie, with so little dialogue. It takes so
Would you
little
want it?
because
So
those characters are so broadly drawn in those movies that you don't
yeah,
need to spend much time with them.
um, and I mean, you're a bigger Friday the 13th fan than me. You're a Friday the 13th fan, I should say. I was a bigger fan. I'm not really a fan.
It's not your
Uh,
franchise.
um, would you want to see, now that this movie exists, would you want to see like actually Jason in this format? Or is like this the movie to do this format in this series, and like we should
Yeah,
just
I
like,
don't. I like to let this be its own thing. I wouldn't want to try to make Jason
yeah,
into
'cause this
this.
is
I don't
getting a
think.
sequel.
Yeah, I figured it would. I don't really want one.
Probably not going to be as
Like I don't really
interesting,
need
right?
another one. It deserves a sequel in the sense that it's good enough to get a
Yeah,
sequel. You know what I mean? If of
it
all the crappy things that get sequels, it's like good
got a
enough.
good little
But
box office return.
I'm just of I'm just getting old, and it's like sometimes things are just perfect the way they are, and you don't need to keep milking that teat. You know?
That's a, I don't even think that's an old thing. This is an indie low budget movie, and I think right now what's happening with that is, it got a little theater release, and I made 4.5 million, and that's a pretty big, I'm sure its budget
Probably a
was,
good sized profit movie.
yeah, I'm
Probably
sure
didn't
its
cost a
budget was
million
like
dollars.
a million if that. And I think for with like in a good way with places like this is a Shudder distribution, and like, oh no, I'm sorry, it's Shudder's production company,
Yeah.
and like was distributed by IFC. That's how it got its theater run. I think like those tandems and things like that are giving companies these small horror movies like, yeah, keep making a sequel. You guys turn out it's quality, and you turn out a
And you turn a
profit.
good profit, yeah.
So like as
Oh yeah,
long
and
as
I
the
mean, I would
quality
expect if it
stays
was the
up,
same crew that the sequel would probably be good, but I just
'cause-
don't need a sequel from this. It's a pretty
no,
well self-contained kind of story.
it's same way like we were talking Leslie Vernon.
Yeah.
There was a big Kickstarter and all of this for years to get a sequel funded and all that. And that's one where I'm like, I think it's good on its own, self-contained.
Even with ending on sequel bait, it just plays into it's a meta commentary on horror movies, so
Yeah.
like it still fits, it's
And
still fine. And I
I
think
think
that's
has
this too. This is a
this
movie
is
that's a
going
meta
for it.
commentary on horror movies. So like leaving us with sequel bait and leaving Johnny out there kind of unanswered questions, it's fine for something like this.
Yeah.
Like
So I just want to know if you what your thoughts on it, or what. So yeah, so right after that, you hear
this
the
is where
lockets
they
ring.
have the moment you were talking about where they
Yes,
shoot Johnny and they're gonna chain him up and like it's that again like
the lock splitter.
the perfect tension thing of like in the one moment of vulnerability when they've got him pinned down with the gun, and then the one moment of vulnerability where they go to pass it, he grabs it and he gets the upper hand. The kids take off. Oh, the log splitter's so good. It's so personal. I love that they set up the whole family tie thing so you know why Johnny takes his time with this one. He
It's
paralyzes the guy first. That's a great move. Grabs him by the spine with both hands and just paralyzes him.
he's he he's a force of nature.
In a violent nature.
But he, like I said, I don't talking to. That's why I love when we get together and talk because I like on one watch don't think
Well, yeah,
about it.
of course.
You
One
don't.
watch is
I'm
different.
like one watch. You're always like, oh, it's not deliberate. You're never. For me, I'm never like, oh, it's deliberate. And this, the second watch, I'm like, oh yeah, like that. That's what you fucking did. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, this scene. This is this is our second money shot. You can tell they had
Yeah.
two big set
I,
pieces
I,
in
I
the film.
think I think the other one's a little flashier and it comes earlier in the movie, so that's the one that'll be more memorable for
Yeah,
people.
he
But I
takes a
definitely
woman's head and rips it through her stomach.
yeah. But the way this one is shot and how long you can tell the actor is still there and like alive in the shot, like there's a live actor in the shot for so long.
Oh, that's the other thing. You're reminding me. Yeah, he's in the shot, and this is what I wonder. And um, I want to read the trivia correctly. Uh, is this movie was about? They said that what we saw was about 70% reshot.
Really?
Yeah. And he's talked about this like in his interviews for the
Sure.
thing. Um, he said that he says 70% could be more or less, depends on his mood, but basically like they had a 4 week production. The guy who was Johnny was sick or like couldn't do it anymore, so then they had to kind of recast, and that all about movements and things. Um, so it's too long to just sit here and like read the blurb, so I'm just kind of like
Yeah. That's
powering through it.
crazy though, like that it was
Um,
the
yeah, he said a lot of it, like the trees didn't feel like things didn't feel right with the trees, so they went through it. At first, it also like had a different like lead. Yeah, it had a different lead in it. So that's really interesting because it's like, they were like we pull it off, but there's like he said there's one shot from the original film. It's a 5 or 6 second shot that was included, and it's the most expensive shot in the film by far. So, yeah, I would be really curious to know like what was like
yeah,
seventy
what was the
percent. A
shot? It's
lot.
got to be
That's
like an effect shot or something.
yeah, but
Might be something with the log splitter because this is, like I said, this is a really good scene. It's really brutal. It's really methodical, which is always so scary to me when something takes a long time to set up. You know what I mean? That's so. I love that he paralyzes the guy, but the guy's alive and he can see, and he shows him the log splitter first. He lays the guy in there, and then he splits a log. Like he puts a log in and turns it on, and like lets the guy watch how slow it pushes through the log and everything. Oh, it's
he's
for us, but it's also for him, and I love that. Like,
he's like he's a high IQ individual.
yeah, I mean,
He's a Kamala voter. Sorry,
he, I just,
it's too soon.
it's, he, it's weird, yeah, because, like, he's like a Jason, where they kind of portray him as a mindless monster, but Jason's constantly setting traps and doing, and setting up bodies so they pop out at people, stuff that you have to think ahead to do.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's like those are like such two supernatural slashers, right? It's like, yeah, I could forgive Michael Myers in first Halloween because like he's still technically like just a human. So when he drives around town all day, like
yeah,
you're like, okay, like
I get it.
sure, you've seen a person drive a car, but like Jason can't get in a car, Michael can't get in a car, Hatchet can't get in a car, like
I was gonna bring up Hatchet too. I do think this is like the classier version of Hatchet. Hatchet's like a real like early 2000s
oh,
like
Hatchet's grime.
dude bro fucking like horror, like we're taking back horror back to basics.
Yeah.
I love, don't get me wrong, we've talked Hatchet before. I love
Yeah, I
Hatchet.
did. That was one of my fear binges.
Yeah, for a Halloween episode that you
Yeah,
dressed as
I did
Yes,
Justice.
it was good.
And Hatchet, yeah, but that first one, I think especially, Dude Bro is great for it because I'm pretty sure it's very like, from a language wise, it's very like, I don't know if there is, but my memory tells me there's like F bombs
Well, and it
and
fully
like,
has like Girls Gone Wild
yes,
characters in it, so it's got like a guy filming girls who are constantly showing their titties. It just feels very like early 2000s. Um,
very that. And then you have whatever, the horror people, we do like all community people will ask, like, it's just feminism, baby, and you're like,
Yeah,
it's not, guys.
it's not, guys. No. So let's see. We're wrapping up here.
Yeah, it's this is
We get the log splitter scene. We love that. We won't spoil it. Go watch it. It's incredible. It's so good. It's just so fucking mean and brutal.
like it's a quick movie. It's like the movie itself. Like
Oh,
I said,
it's
I
funny
think
because it knows it needs to be short. It knows it can't be more than 90 minutes because of the way it's
and
paced. Like,
and that's where once we leave, right, and she runs away and she keeps running and running and
oh,
running.
we'll get to the end. Don't
Okay,
worry. I have
okay,
things to say about the end. But
thank you.
first, we
Because
got to do. I actually really love the run up here, though. Um, we got Colt and Chris left, right? And they're trying. They actually do a pretty good job of setting up a trap, but they can't shut the fuck up long enough to let it to bag him. Cause like they get me. He's walking. We see Johnny walking. We're actually in front of him, and then you see them kind of sneak past behind him, and we're like, "Oh
mhm,
shit!" They got around behind him. But then one of them steps on a twig, and we know Johnny. If Johnny hears a weird
twigs.
sound, that's you got his attention now. Um, and I love that they think they're gonna do the distraction thing, and so immediately, like,
He
there's
sniffs it
not
out.
even a moment. He comes up behind him, hey, over here, and it just swings around and buries that big fire axe in his head, and then proceeds to absolutely mince this kid. This is the only time in the movie where we do our back-to-back splatter kills. It's the climax. We're at the
It's the
end
end of the
here.
movie.
Yeah, we're at the end of the movie, and I
Also, you
love
need to get these
Chris's
kids.
reaction to it because she's just like, "Fuck this! I'm not trying to be a part. I'm gonna put
I'm
the
out.
necklace right here, and I am getting the fuck out."
She puts it on the gas can, and she's like, I'm done.
I remember the first time I thought, because I do feel like there's a moment where if you're a horror connoisseur, you're thinking you got your final girl thing. You're like, oh, she's trying to set a trap. Is she gonna blow up that can? Is that part of it?
All of her
They're gonna
friends,
set him on
yeah,
fire.
all of her
Because when he
friends are dead.
reaches over for it, is there gonna be like a flare? She's gonna shoot at it or whatever. But nope.
She
She
just
just
runs.
bails the fuck out. And for a while, we know that Johnny's behind her. We've spent the
Yeah,
whole movie with Johnny's sounds,
and
so
you hear
they
his
are
breath.
very close. They're very clear to let us know that there's like a good portion of that run that he's behind her.
Mhm.
But eventually, she hurts herself, and he doesn't catch her. He's not behind her anymore. We don't hear him anymore. And then she goes on for a little bit, and then we have her picked up by a woman who you said is from a Friday. Which Friday is she from?
She is from. I just want to. Part two.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Um, she's the lead in part two then.
she's Vicky
She's Vicky. Okay, that's
and neighbors.
okay.
The John Belushi. I mean, she's very very small. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
very short filming thing, but someone wrote her. She is a screen queen for her roles in several horror movies. I read three, so
Yeah. So
but yeah, very cool though.
how do you feel about this ending? Because I feel like
I think
this
the
is a little
movie,
art house. This is a little anticlimactic for your
yeah,
average horror fan.
the movie is very like. I don't think it's a fitting ending for the movie we watched, and that's very art house.
I feel he's very much playing on your expectations here.
Yeah,
It feels I mean like it feels like The Descent. It feels like Texas Chainsaw. It feels
well,
like we're
she
waiting for
gets
Johnny here.
she gets picked up, and she's like, yeah, come on in, and there have two kind of thoughts here of why this ending, and this is where I'm like, oh, because you said the director knows he needs to make a tight movie. The
Mhm.
movie's still an hour and 44 minutes. We really should be getting to like 130 on this. So this
I thought it was like 90. I
is
thought it was
it.
like 90, 97.
I thought it was. No, I'm wrong. It's 94 minutes, so it's right
Okay.
on cue. It's right on cue. I'm
Yeah,
incorrect.
I just yeah,
I'm incorrect. But like he runs, like, so we're in the car and she starts talking, and like just because we went over everything else, she goes, oh, you don't have to say anything. She knows something's wrong,
Well, she
right? Like,
wants her to keep her awake. She's like, I want you to respond to me because I need to know you're awake because you're injured. I want to
mm.
get you to the
But
hospital.
she's also
But she's
like,
not pressing her about what it was that
no,
happened
but
out
she knows
there.
something bad happened. She goes, no, no, bad things happen. She talks about her brother,
She
the
said,
game
well,
over.
and Chris says it was an animal. She says
Yeah,
she was attacked by an animal.
you definitely like. I'm like, oh, she's talking about clearly. She's talking about Johnny, right? She's like,
Yeah.
this thing shredded him up, but he survived. Um,
Right, because
and
he's talking about a bear attack, but the guy never saw the bear.
mhm,
The bear
her
was
brother,
gone when
yeah.
they picked him up, right? It's like her
And
brother or
I
something.
think she like so like I think this scene just go like this is the tension. Right? This is where I did feel tension. This is definitely expectation.
Well, right, they're playing with that exact
She's
feeling. They know.
driving. She's driving for so long. So I'm like, you're so far away from
Yeah,
Johnny.
Johnny can't pop up here. You're way too far away.
Like Johnny showed us this whole movie. You don't move that quick.
No.
Um, but the girl, and she obviously and she stops.
But you're also like, is she gonna Captain Spaulding in the end of House of a Thousand Corpses? Is this woman gonna be in on it? Like, is there something going on here?
Oh dear, yeah, no, I'm taking you
But
back to my
also, I think
son.
it's supposed to like give you that feeling of the way Chris is gonna feel forever, which is like everything is gonna feel like this to Chris.
You're probably right. So because when she gets out of the car and like, the movie itself to me isn't so much of a corner looking, a corner looker.
Sure, yeah.
Because you're with Johnny the whole movie. I don't need to be looking in the
I
corner.
know where he is. He's
Yeah,
right there.
that's the only time in the movie it's a corner looker. You're like, because
Yeah.
they do a great shot of the
They actually
tree,
do, like, while she's helping her fix her leg or whatever they do, they kind of pan
the
out into
wide
the
shot in
forest.
the forest,
And there have been times in the movie where Johnny was just standing in the forest,
and
and we've
for all
been
I
on the
fucking
other
know,
side of that frame.
all I fucking know, someone is like, yeah, he's right actually in that corner
Hmm.
in the tree. Like, I'm sure he isn't, but like,
But you could
that's
definitely see somebody saying that, yeah.
yeah, and yeah, and then we just kind of cut back to
The,
the thing,
the final shot is of the
and
can of
with the canister, with
the
Johnny.
gas can, and the locket's gone. Now
Mm,
obviously you're left to interpret that. Does that mean Johnny is like still on the loose in those woods, but kind of like just a restless spirit, not actively killing?
to be
But
fine.
but because he's now loosed, if you walked into his territory, is it like Blair Witch rules, where if you get into his circle, you're gonna get taken out? Like,
Even think of that. I was just like,
is that what happened with Chris? Did she clear his boundary?
hmm.
She makes
Did
it out of
she,
the forest. She makes it to the road. So
yeah. And did Johnny take?
does she clear Johnny's boundary? He's a ghost. He's supposed to be a ghost, right? So he does have a boundary, probably. Is he a
Those are all
ghost or is he a zombie? Hard to say.
both.
He rises from the grave,
But he
I
was already dead for
guess.
so long, and the way he is supposed to be inhabiting the forest. But we already talked
He's
about
not.
like,
He's like has damage to him, and he's decayed, but he's not like Jason Decree. He's not like a zombie. He's not.
yeah, the face
He still
reveals
seems like he has flesh, you
the
know.
face reveals a lot more intact than just like you said, like a skeletal. I mean, it's the irony is when I record, I have an old Tales from the Crypt Keeper ad of him holding up two Bud Ices because it was an ad. And it's my favorite, but I'm looking at decrepitness like as it's literally
No, Johnny's
like
way more meaty than that. He's still got a lot of flesh
yeah.
on him. He
I
looks like
don't.
a Terminator that's been shot a couple dozen times.
Yes, that's a great way to put him. I don't know. It's definitely that ending for more interpretation than you'd expect, and that's why it's a little lackluster in the
I
sense of
I do think the ending fizzles a bit. I think the movie is really great up until that, and I feel like it doesn't hurt it. It doesn't make me not like this movie,
no, no,
but it's always going to be that like 10 Cloverfield Lane where I'm like, why'd you have that part where she gets out and fights the stupid animal? Why couldn't you just had her get out and run away?
like I
Like,
think it has it has that energy to it. It's like, oh, I don't need to see Chris fight him right that,
yeah,
but I would like to see a little. Almost, I would like to see like someone be like, no, actually, rewind it. He's in the bushes
he
right
is
there,
there.
and at
Yeah,
least now I'm like,
he
my brain is
almost got her again. Like
yeah,
maybe as they drive away, you realize that he did almost catch him again or something
yeah.
for some reason.
Because
Like,
the woman in the truck, like like we said, we could have pivoted another way of like, she starts telling a story about her son and being like, my son
Yeah.
was pushed out of the thing, and
Yeah, you realize she's
and
part
now
of it
this
or
is
whatever.
just a Texas Chainsaw loop, right? So it's a really clever movie. I'm, I'll be cautiously optimistic for a sequel, more in the sense of, can you bring that flavor to a sequel while also not telling me everything again?
Right. Is it too much of a gimmick to repeat it?
It's a gimmick.
Will you have to find new, like, are you gonna have enough new beats
So
with this?
I don't think the filmmaker's intention of the movie is to be a kill showcase.
No.
As the movie was like, just hearing about it, I had envisioned it in my head. I'm like, oh, like the trailer, right? The trailer was like the craziest draw. Like I think I remember seeing that, and like,
They all
yeah,
do that now.
and
It's unfortunate.
like it's not. It's an art house film with a couple splatter kills in it,
Yeah.
and it's like it's not fully Skinamarink.
In the way that the Joker tried to trick dumb guys who only watch comic book movies into watching a Scorsese movie, this is like trying to trick dumb horror fans into watching what did you say,
The Terrence
Terrence
Malick and
Malick
Gus
movie.
Van Sant films. But like, so it has that thing to it. And the weird part is a lot of those art house movies like that, and I haven't seen those other ones, but other ones that I'm thinking of, look, you're gonna watch, they all have weak fucking endings. It's like so great. It's a really great movie. The ending's weak. I don't think I need. And
I
this is
mean,
my
the
final.
ending's weak, but also it's not bad. Like, I
No, it's not bad.
actually do kind of like what they
They're
did. I
trying to do
like the
something.
story. I like the metaphor, the idea.
But,
Like, and I like the way, like I said, I like the way it plays with your expectations. I do think it's tense.
but my
Um,
other.
so I, it's like a double-edged sword. It's not necessarily the ending I would have chosen, but I cannot disregard it out of hand
No, and
either.
I think of another thought of that too is what I wanted to add last time is like, I also think it's one of those endings where I'm like, when I found out, like, oh, her name is Lauren Marie Taylor, the woman in the thing was a Friday the 13th Part 2
Yeah.
girl, and I mean that is 100% the Friday the 13th inspiration with the
Oh,
shack
yeah.
and all that. Like, I'm like,
Well, he
you
said
were also,
literally the scene of them around the campfires,
yeah,
Friday the 13th
like
Part 2. Like,
you are very thrilled that you have this woman in your movie and you want to give her the screen time.
it reminds me of when Kevin Smith got really enamored with putting Michael Park in his movies and would give him those big flowery speeches. And of course, he performed the shit out of them. But also, it's like TikTok, man, your
Kevin,
movie. Come on, move
Kevin,
along.
you could re-edit Tusk to make it kind of good.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he did put Michael Parr after Red State. He was like, "Yo, Michael Parr, you want to roll?"
yeah. You want to
Because
just talk for a half hour in my movie,
he was trying to
unfettered?
fill. Because Kevin Smith was trying to fill the void of George Carlin not being around.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
Because
fair.
George Carlin had the same. I watched a few Kevin Smith interviews recently because he's been enjoyable again. Just being like, George Carlin said, "Yeah, I'll come to any movie you make. No one's asking me to be in movies,
Yeah,
basically." So that's why, and it was like, "You're George Carlin. You can come to be in any movie you want to be
hell
in."
yeah, that's amazing.
But anyway, I personally have said all I could say about this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked plenty about it.
Yeah,
I
I
think
was
it's
nervous. I was nervous. I was like, "Oh, I don't know if there's so much meat on this bone," and
don't worry, I'll find it.
there's some meat. Nah, man. Really good pick. Really good movie. Shutter is
Smash it between this
yeah.
and the fucking new VHS movie that's on
I gotta
there
watch
is
that.
good.
The next one I want to watch and I keep wanting to get play on is that Daddy's Head.
Oh no, I haven't seen that.
It keeps, I don't know much about it. It keeps popping up. They've I didn't realize it was a Brandon Shutter movie. They're promoting the Russell Crowe The Exorcism movie, not
Oh,
Exorcist.
not the Pope's Exorcist. The
The
Exorcist. That's a
Exorcist.
Shutter movie.
That's a Shutter, like it has the Shutter, and I don't remember it because it got a bad theatrical run, and I don't remember
Yeah.
a Shutter movie. But if you go, it's a Shudder original. I'm like, it's crazy that Shudder app has a Russell Crowe movie, and it's not the number one thing they're blasting all over. Like Shudder original, Russell Crowe.
Shudder's pretty legit these days. Like I saw it getting offered as like part of one of those like the streaming services you get with your cable package and stuff. I was
It's
like,
legit. It's legit. It's affordable, and it has original releases that are always good.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, I mean, some of the best horror stuff, like I said, is a shot. There's so much
and
stuff that I'm like excited to see. Oddity was one where I was like, "Oh, that's awesome! I can't wait to see that." And then you see that it's produced by Shudder, so you know it's gonna get there pretty
I
quick. Like,
won't for Oddity. It won't happen. I already ordered the Blu-ray.
mm,
There's a long shot because Shudder has a Criterion release.
do they?
La Llorona.
Oh,
It's a
okay, yeah,
Mexican film or a Spanish film. I own it.
yeah. Is it from like 2016? Is that because like because
17.
then they did Curse of La Llorona in the
Yeah,
what is it whatever the
I
Warren verse,
I
right?
own both. I own both, but for very funny reason. So I was like, I put it on a Christmas list, and I was like, I want
Oh,
the
so that's right.
Criterion
You got
one.
gifted it. I remember hearing about
Yeah.
it.
And my mother-in-law very kindly was like, I don't know, I just Googled it because you didn't give me a link. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, no, actually, she did the right thing. It's confusing as shit. But no, it's very funny to see a Criterion film. And because once again, I'm a fucking nerd and I care about these things, and seeing the little Shutter logo on the back,
Yeah, it's
you know, in
wild.
the of that too. So anyway, Shutter's really great. Yeah, there's that extra. We'll talk off camera about that more.
Mhm.
Yeah, man, I recommend this movie like most movies.
Absolutely.
We're gonna try to, guys, if you're still listening, we're gonna try to continue this trend of watching new releases and
Yeah, there's
more
some
looks
good
up.
horror out this year, so we're gonna try and keep watching.
Okay. And take care of everyone, and it'll be
Love each
okay,
other.
guys.
Take
Love
care
you
of people you
guys. Yep.
love. Watch out for your vulnerable friends and whatnot.
In a fun way, stay frightful.
Stay frightful, but
Bye.
not about the state of the world.
Welcome to Flyover State of Fear.